What is good in the neighborhood? I'm here to bring you some messages for the collective, for those on a similar wavelength that I'm on. It's officially Libra season. It's officially autumn. At the time I'm making this video, although this is totally a timeless reading as well. So if you come across this a year from when I'm filming it, a few months from when I'm filming it, perhaps that's when this energy or these messages will be most relevant, pertinent to you. And if you see it around the time I'm filming it, then great. So there's no right or wrong. Take what resonates, leave the rest, please. If something's not resonating, feel free to keep watching and see if there's something in there. I try to provide, the collective, even though we may be on a similar wavelength, there's some of us with a lot, because of generational astrological placement, some of us have our Capricorn, our Uranus, our Pluto, our Neptune, and in the same zodiac signs, and so we may feel a lot of resonance with one another. But then we have totally different placements, and then we have lived experiences, and then we have our identities, and then we have where we live. And so I try to provide messages within the messages, so sub messages and things of oh, this could mean this, or it could mean something else. And so I try to make things so that they're entry points for everyone, if that makes sense. So not everything I say may be ding, ding, ding. Maybe it will. Maybe just a couple things here and there will be serendipitous for you. But you never know. You never know. So the decks I will be using today, and I think for the next few weeks, although it may change, but at least for today, the decks I'm really trying to work with and get super familiar, acquainted with, and really work magic with are Christy C. Rhodes' New World Tarot, Chris Ann's Light Seers Tarot deck, Angel Skog, aka Nordic Light, on YouTube's Little Guide deck, which is an Oracle deck of 55 cards. And then we have Kara Nesvig's Britney Spears Oracle deck, because of course, why not? So the reason I'm using these decks in particular, I'll say one, also, I think it's important to note I'm self-taught when it comes to reading cards, and for me it's more about reading energy. It's more about trying to channel and making that connection with spirit and using my intuition, more so than just repeating the same definitions and standard messages you can find anywhere. And so that's also why I like using different decks. That's why I really like using Oracle decks as opposed to just tarot. That's why I like using tarot decks that aren't Rider-Waite tarot. So decks that kind of have more contemporary modes of entry, contemporary resonance, such as Next World Tarot that has like diverse characters. And I think like things like that are really important. And then things like the Britney Spears Oracle deck are really fun, cute, and silly, but also really inspirational. And for me, I grew up when I was little, you know, Britney Spears was coming up and she was really big. And I, you know, have witnessed all her comebacks and resurrections, if you will. But I remember like being 4 or 5 years old and dancing, performing in the living room to Britney Spears for my grandparents, begging my mom at 5 years old to take me to see the Crossroads movie, even though it was rated PG-13. And I was in kindergarten, but I was like, oh, Britney Spears is in it. I don't care what it's about. I don't understand what it's about. I just want to see Britney Spears sing and dance. And yeah, so Britney Spears has like a lot of meaning for me, and I think especially during this time of it not just being Libra season and me being a Libra, but and also being an artist who's like trying to chase my dreams and, you know, has all these career struggles and things. It's interesting to think of Britney Spears as like the ultimate comeback kid, and especially during a time where a lot of mystics, a lot of spiritual or religious folks are talking about the rapture, or like that potentially happening, what that even is, what it will be like. So I'm like kind of entertaining it in this way of being like, oh, there's like the resurrection of Christ, and then there's like the resurrection of Britney Spears, which is more tangible and someone we can actually look to and study in this way where we're like, oh, this was a real person from like pop culture. And I think it's really cool to like learn from pop culture, music, arts, entertainment, because I also think a lot of artists do channel, whether they realize it or not, whether they identify as spiritual or not. A lot of artists do have different spiritual practices and faiths, and so I think that's also cool to incorporate artists. I also have different artists and music decks that I might use from time to time. But these are the ones we're going to work with for today. And let's see. Yeah, let's get into it. So, I want to do a 3-pile spread. And I say, so instead of like a 3-card spread, I'm using like the 4 decks. So we'll have 3 cards in each pile to start with, and then we'll use the Light Zeros Tarot deck for clarifying cards. And depending on how the pulls go will depend on how many of those tarot cards, clarifying cards, we'll pull. And yeah, so we're gonna do mind, body, spirit of this time, this beginning of Libra season. What's coming to us? What can we be more mindful of? What can inspire us? And all that jazz. So I'm going to shuffle these cards a few more times. I'm going to cut the decks. And then once I have the main cards in each pile placed, Then we'll go ahead and look at them together. Mind, body, spirit. And for me, I also think of mind, body, spirit as like the ego, which is like things also to let go of, things holding us back. But also like logic and reason and what keeps us in check, what keeps us like in tune with the agreed upon reality. And then body is like the avatar. Our souls are inhabiting the flesh, but also there's this intrinsic connection with the mental, with like mental health and physical health. And so I think the body inhabits like all health and wellness from every aspect of life. And then spirit is, you know, the soul, is kind of like mission-based, passion, purpose in life, what authenticity, what's most authentic, higher self, future self, spiritual guides, and like the secrets and keys we kind of hold within us that we may not even be aware of. So none of those piles are like are greater or better than the other, but I think it's really cool to do a 3 spread like this as opposed to past, present, future, where as there is like no such thing as like really the future. And yeah, because there's like really just the present, which quickly becomes the past, and the future quickly becomes the present, which then quickly becomes the past. So as soon as you say, okay, 5 minutes from now, oh, in 5 minutes, I'm going to do this. And before you know it, 10 minutes pass, and you're already in the future, and you like totally miss whatever task you were meaning to do, meaning to complete, meaning to get to. And so there's like this ever fleeting ephemerality, temporality of time, but also this fluidity of time, right? And then there's the idea of like history and what we associate with like the greater past, before maybe we inhabited or incarnated in these specific avatars and these specific timelines and time periods and geographies and demographics. Yeah, I don't have a way to close that sentence. I think that's the end of that sentence. Yeah. All right. Now pulling the final. Whoa! These cards went all over the place. Okay, lots of cards came out, but there's like too many. It's chaotic. Maybe there's Well, we know there's chaotic energy. We know there's chaotic energy. There's chaotic energy nationally in the US. There's globally, internationally. The empires are crumbling. Everyone's freaking out. Things are getting worse before they're getting better, it seems. But yeah, let's parse through like some of those illusions together. Sheesh, these cards. Okay. We'll say, not to have excuses, but I do have small hands, and so I have to shuffle all my decks differently, not just because of the sizes of the cards and the thickness of the cards varying, but then there's also the added layer of my hands, like the thickness of my hands, the dexterity of my hands or lack thereof, and then the size of my hands. You know, I was always an awkward shuffler, even when playing games growing up. Be like, okay, it's your turn to shuffle. And like, I love shuffling. I really do. I really love the sound and feeling of shuffling. But it's sometimes frustrating. It can be frustrating. I try not to use negative words, but I'll say that. Annoying, kind of, to when the cards kind of have a mind of their own. Did I just cut this deck? I don't even... I'm gonna cut it again. Okay. Mind, body, spirit. Okay. Let's see what we're working with. I'm going to pull... Okay, I'll pull these in the order I have down. So I'm gonna do the mind pile first, then the body pile, then the spirit pile. And I'm gonna start with the Little Guide Oracle by Nordic Light, and then I'll do Brittany, and then I'll do Tarot. The Next World Tarot, and then I'll do Light Seers Tarot. Ooh, we have, so this is Mind, right? We have Home, and it's like a little birdhouse on a branch. Super cute. It says home. I'm literally in the process of moving, but home is also, I mean, home is where the heart is. Home to me has always been like a tricky thing, and something where I like struggled with chronic homelessness, houselessness, and then contemplating like, oh, like lack of physical stability, but then feeling like, oh, maybe home is my cat. Home is wherever me and my cat are, and no matter where we are, where we go, we'll always have each other, and then we create home for ourselves, even if we're somewhere that's less than ideal for us, or that's awkward, or unstable, or temporary. Home is, you know, very sacred and special, and while I'm in this process of physically and literally moving houses, I'm like deciding between places, right? And I have to weigh all the pros and cons. I'm between 2 places, but I really have 3 options, and then I'm still looking at other places and still reaching out to other people just in case. But there's a lot to consider right? There's the commute, there's the size of the living room, the size of the bedroom, how many roommates there are, physical mobility, accessibility, like how many stairs there are, if there's an elevator in the building, or if it's ground floor, if it's a single or multi-family home, if it's a townhouse, if it's a condo, a flat, a loft. There's thinking about what's really necessary to have in the home, like what makes a home and what makes a home feel cozy and homey, like as far as material possessions and resources go. So I'm like downsizing a lot. I feel like every time I move, I have to downsize for convenience. And also because my living situations are always in flux or changing. There's always a reason that I need to get rid of things, whether it's because I'm not using them and I'm making strategic Marie Kondo decisions, or something's like broken, or it's infested with bugs, or otherwise. Yeah, home, 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 home. And mind, yeah, and to get this with the mind pile, like with the ego, I feel like the home, like for me in housing, like I think of it from a very ego, mind, mental perspective, and my mind is definitely preoccupied with like pentacles, with the stability, and so I feel like this also represents that for me. But let's keep on going with this pile and see where it takes us. We have the Britney Spears card with the movie star. Remember how I was talking about how I begged my mom to see Crossroads because that was Britney Spears? I don't know if it was her first movie, but it was a popular movie and she was quite young when she was in it. I don't think she's not really done that many movies. And she's of course known as a pop star. And so it's cool to have a card. I don't think I've actually ever pulled this card out of this deck. I thought I've pulled every card from this deck, but I've never pulled the movie star before. So when you think about movie star, we think red carpets. We think telling stories that are entertaining, believable, powerful, impactful. I'm curious what the book says on this. Wow, it's literally about Crossroads. Kid you not. It's about that. It came out in 2002, which is funny because I literally just watched it, a channeling and a reading done by Rare Gazelle on YouTube. And one of the cards that creator Reem pulled was like an angel number card that was 2002, 2002. And she read it as 2002. And I was like, oh, I remember I was so little in 2002. But that was like right before, in the year of my life, kind of imploding. It was only natural that Britney would land a starring role in a movie at some point in her career, and she did just that with 2002's Crossroads. Britney plays a young woman stuck between girlhood and grown-up who embarks on a road trip with her two best friends to find her mother. Taking on a full-length feature film was a risk, but one Britney was willing to take. Crossroads has enjoyed a renaissance in recent years. The movie star takes chances and tries new things, and you should too. So when thinking about, okay, we have the card home, we have movie star. This is literally about the movie of like, what is home if we're thinking about, you know, finding an estranged parent, and if home is where the heart is, you know, a common phrase in the English language. And taking risk. And I was thinking about, okay, I'm weighing these options for moving, and I feel like no matter, like, every place has pros and cons. So I feel like no matter what, I'm taking a risk with, like, saying, okay, I'm gonna risk the fact that there's still a lot I don't know about how I will like, dislike living in any of these places, with these people, things, and other nouns. And there's something about also, like, taking risks, taking a chance on yourself, taking risks because you got to risk it for the biscuit, right? If you don't take risks, then potentially there's less rewards, right? Like if you think about like for example, as an artist, I applied to grants and residencies, fellowships, different artistic opportunities, and there's always the possibility of a yes or a rejection. And I have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, so rejection and criticism, it's really hard for me sometimes, or a lot of the times. But if I don't take the risk of putting myself out there, whether it's creating work or applying to these opportunities, sharing myself with others, being vulnerable here online, even though I have like imposter syndrome or I'm self-taught reader, you know, like, you can't ever achieve your goals or reach greatness if you don't take necessary risks. And there's ways to take calculated risks, right? There's risks that don't really have consequences, or the consequence is just getting a rejection, and it's not losing anything that you already have. It's just like you just have FOMO because it's an opportunity you wanted and you didn't get it, which is different than like gambling away something. And so, I mean, no, I personally have interesting relationships with like spending a lot of money, but not necessarily gambling. I don't really see I mean, I get the appeal of it. But I've never really had the kind of money where I could take that kind of risk. But sometimes people, not even just financially, but people will say risk taking is another form of gambling, right? Like, oh, I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to take a gamble on insert situation here. I'm going to take a gamble on myself, on this person, on this job, on this opportunity. And like, Britney was known as a pop star, was known as a singer, and it was a risk for her to audition for a movie and to act in a movie. And I've worked on film sets, you know, as a performer, as an intimacy coordinator, as a PA in the art department. Like, films are also like not easy to make, no matter what your role is. And there's a lot in life that's not easy, right? A lot of life is hard. And sometimes, like, the greatest things do require some kind of risk taking. Whoa. So remember, first card in this pile was home. And I was talking about how I have chronic housing instability and insecurity. We also have, right, movie star. Thinking about Hollywood stars, like, you know, the stars on like the boardwalks where it's like stars in the concrete with the names of the celebrities. We have the King of Pentacles. I was talking about my pentacles. I'm always worried about my pentacles. In the mind, in the ego, worried about the pentacles. The throne of security. The king suit being like the master of that. So being the master of the pentacles, being the master of not just worldly possessions, but resources. We have this star, right? That's why I said, oh, like the Hollywood star. It says daddy on it, which I think is hilarious. And it's like a, I'll say like femme-ish presenting person. So there's like power and, you know, like call her daddy type energy here. Let's see what else I can make out in this image. There's a lot going on in the image. And this deck is very much like contemporary views, but also thinking about like apocalypse times, which I feel like we have felt like we've been in apocalypse times for a minute now. Like for at least the last 8 years, I think, since 2017, definitely there's been like that shift in that feeling for many folks, myself included. Yeah, but this is amazing. This is great. This is, so I was thinking and I asked, you know, spirit, the guides, angels, ancestors, I was like, what is the guidance? What is the inspiration that we can take for this time entering Libra season, the official start of Libra season? We're in it. And so like embodying the movie star, taking risks, right? Which may include an ego death in order to have a rebirth, in order to become anew, in order to like shedding that old skin or persona, or even just stepping into new roles and responsibilities coming back to the home. Pentacles also is to do with responsibilities. So we have responsibility, resources, security, stability, and the mastery of that. Being kind of almost a teacher, a guide of that. And I feel like this is a really aspirational pile, a really aspirational state, you know, of course, like to pull queen or king of any tarot deck is nice, for lack of a better term, right? This is the thing about working with tarot. I hate how there's like negative cards and positive cards. Not to speak in so much in binary, but that's also why I don't like using waiter wife, because I feel like it tends to lean very negative, or like harps up on the negativity of what some cards can present. Let's see what else. Some clarifying cards for this pile of the mind. Let's pull 3 cards. Ace of Swords. So we have, oh, I forget what this, actually it looks like a spiral. It looks in between like a seashell and a roller coaster or a winding staircase. There's light beaming out of it. There's a raven or a crow flying. There's, is that, there's like the infinity symbol. There's this symbol for, I believe, Mercury. There are algebraic equations, physics, symbols. This is Ace of Swords. So swords is, this is funny. So this was the pile for mind, right? There's mind, body, spirit. Swords is about air signs and the qualities of air, which have to do with what? The mind, the mental, and well, that can mean a lot of things. There's a lot of like, in the swords, there can be like getting caught up in your mind with like preoccupation, worry, stress, anxiety, getting in your own way, self-sabotage, all these kinds of things. But Ace of Swords is like this, is again this type of skill and mastery, and like imagine, and typically on a lot of tarot decks, it's for the ace, there's like the single sword, the single wand, the single cup, to say like, haha, here it is. And when I think about like Ace of Swords, I imagine someone like having the sword in like their little pocket thing, holder, sword holder, whatever that's called, and then like shing, pulling it out and like being ready to go. Yeah, this is wild to get that for the mind pile. So whether I think for me, I'll speak for myself. I don't know about you, but we'll see if any of this resonates. So for me, I have been feeling like my mind, like there's more relief. I have less anxiety because like these things I've been worried about, like getting another job, I finally started getting interviews, so there's more relief there. Even if I don't get the job I'm interviewing for, at least things are moving now, and I'm feeling more confident in myself and my skills and what I have to offer an organization and another job. For housing, I really thought I was going to find anything, and now I have multiple options. I didn't think I would have enough money saved to move. Now I do. Thanks to my friends in my community, my loved ones who, come together and help me fundraise. And I also have a lot of neurodivergence, and there's no such thing as the magical pill, right? And so I've had to do a lot of like work for myself to be like, okay, how am I going to dig myself out of this depression? How am I going to battle this anxiety? How am I going to be like the winner against these demons, so to speak? So if you're not already in the Ace of Swords energy, in the King of Pentacles energy, in the movie star energy, this is the inspiration that's coming to us. This is the things we can aspire and look towards. Next card, we have, what? Ace of Cups. To get 2 aces, that's so weird. And I shuffled this deck many times. This is so beautiful. It's a cup, and the person is holding a cup, and there's like water swirling around it, beams of light, orbs of light. But there's also a heart inside of the cup, nice and pink. Cups being associated with water signs. So Scorpio, Pisces. Who else is water? Cancer. There's just 3, right? Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. I think there's just 3, right? Because there's swords, cups, wands, pentacles. Right. There's four swords, cups, pentacles, wands. And then there's earth, water, fire. Earth, water, fire, air. Yes. Okay. So cups, water. So we have swords for air, cups for water. We had king for the pentacles. It's wild to get pentacles, swords, and cups all in this. And it's interesting to get it with the mind, because we were thinking about how the mind is more typically associated with swords. But you also have like the connections of mental health, mental wellness with the emotionality that cups brings. And Ace of Cups, like I was just talking about, feeling better about like mental health and feeling like, because my mind is clearer, like emotionally, I'm not able just to breathe and think, but I'm able to feel more deeply, to feel more confident, to exude loving kindness to myself and to others. And then there's also like feeling like I'm just like super abundant, and feeling like, you know, things are gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. Wow. Okay. Next card. Ooh. Now, I'm not reading any of these. Some of these are coming up reversed, but I'm not reading any like reversals, just because I don't like to read reversals all the time. But so this technically kind of came up in reverse, but we're gonna read it as is, because I think in the Light Seers Tarot, it's cool to see how these cards are depicted, and it's a little different than typical cards. So on the Ace of Swords, we had just like one crow, or maybe it's a raven, not sure. And then 10 of Swords, we have like 10 of them, 10 of those birds, right? And then we have this person, their back is towards us, and they're taking a step. They're like mid-step, mid-walking, kind of looking beyond the horizon. Their wind and dress is their hair and dress is blowing in the wind. But there's kind of like this barren wasteland. So I think there's like this, with all the other cards we got, I hate to say this again, like they were so positive, and this one is like, typically 10 of Swords is like, no, it's like typically depicted as a person laying down, belly down, 10 swords stabbing in their back, which is like so dramatic. And it's usually about like self-sabotage, getting in your own way, getting in your head. But we had the Ace of Swords, right? And we pulled the Ace of Swords first. And so we're getting this clarity and thinking like, so we're leaving behind negative self-talk, low self-worth, anxiety, and we're like bossing up, glowing up. So I love that it's like this person is kind of leaving behind, I mean, they're alone, and there's like loneliness kind of symbolized here, and like being haunted by negativity. But there's also brightness in here, and like open skies and plenty of opportunity to turn things around. And so even if you feel like you're still stuck in Ten of Swords energy, then the rest is like the King of Pentacles, the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Cups, the movie star. This is all what we're aspiring and leaning towards, leaning into, taking inspiration from. All right, so our pile for body, we had mind. So now let's work with body. Time. I was talking about the fluidity of time. I was talking about how, right, there's like no such thing as the future, because as soon as you say, oh, in a few minutes, it's already been a few minutes, and then the future quickly becomes the present, quickly becomes the past. What even is time? And time is made up, right, to an extent. Of course, there's like the sun rising and setting in the moon. But like as far as hours, as far as like time zones, the time of day it is, how many seconds are in a minute, minutes in an hour, hours in a day, hours, days in a week, like those are kind of made up by humans, right? And it's so that everyone can be, I guess, on the same page, but it's mostly so that we show up to work, quote unquote, on time, right? So we can be in sync with one another. Let's see if I could read what time it says on this. There's a little birdie in front of the little pocket watch. Let's see. The clock is pointing. It's at 10. Oh. Yeah. 10. It's like about 10:55. So almost 11. 1-1. If that's significant. Maybe 10, maybe 5, maybe 55 is significant, maybe ones are significant. So time. I think with the body and time, we have the concept of aging, right? And as time goes on, and especially when we're thinking about the different zodiac seasons, we're thinking about birthdays, we might have different feelings about birthdays, turning certain ages. There's also, of course, societal expectations of like, okay, you're this age, so now this is how you should be living your life, or you should have this together, or maybe there's like more responsibilities. Let's see what else comes up with this. Ooh, interesting to think that I mentioned aging and ages, because for the Brittany Oracle, we have the iconic schoolgirl. And this is with the little crop top button down. And when I was little, I used to do that with my shirts when I would perform to Britney Spears in the living room for my grandparents, not realizing like, oh, this is showing my midriff and this is being sexy, because I was like 5 years old. I didn't understand those concepts, and I was just being cute. But there's something about kind of that youthfulness, maintaining that inner child glow no matter how much time passes by, the hope of a child or youth. And I believe this is from the music video, like this particular costume. I believe it's from, it's either Hit Me Baby One More Time or Oops, I Did It Again. Let's see if I can pinpoint it in the book. Baby One More Time. And the big thing about this card is that it talks about how Britney made such an impact with this music video that not only changed the music industry, but pop culture entirely. Okay, so this is pretty intense energy. We're thinking cheeky, and ingenuity. When it comes to your career and your life, it's all about following your gut and trusting yourself. I love that. Following your gut and trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. And that's something that, of course, you kind of, I feel like, learn over time, that kind of built up wisdom and how to listen to your body, how to listen to your intuition and intuitive hits, and when to follow a gut feeling and when to say, you know what, my gut is telling me this, but I'm going to get in trouble if I do that, so let me just play along with the system and do something else. But there's a lot of powerful energy there. And we have, wow, these are all hitting in each of the like mind, body, then we'll get to spirit. But we have the Strength card. So that's for Leo, which is a fire sign. And also Leo rules the sun. Well, the sun is ruled by Leo. And it's the card 8. So 8 for infinite possibilities. Yeah. I love how here you have just like so much flora, so much plants, so many plants like thriving here. And there's like strength in nurturing. There's strength in being careful, delicate, graceful. Like only certain people can be plant parents and keep plants alive, you know, and then have the plants not just be alive, but thriving and grow really robustly. And sometimes it's hard to keep up with plants, to keep up, you know, how to fertilize them, how to change the soil, when to repot them, when to do all the things with cuttings and all the different plant things, knowing what type of environment and humidity a plant needs. And we are also living organisms just like plants. So how to take care of our body, nurture ourselves and our dependents, those that count on us. And there is kind of this Empress energy that comes with strength. This mother nurturing energy that's coming up. Let's see if we can get more clarifying cards for this pile for body. So spirit, guides, angels, ancestors, what can you clarify about this time in Libra season. What's inspiration and guidance we can get when it comes to our flesh, our avatar, the body, physical health, aging, all of these things. Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords. Love that. Love that. So again, we have air energy. And remember, I was mentioning how the connection of mental health and physical health, and the queens, all of the queens make up, I also just mentioned the Empress, all of the queens make up the Empress. The Empress is all of the queens combined. The Queen of Pentacles, Wands, Swords, Pentacles, Wands, Swords, Cups. The Empress embodies all of that. So the fact that I was feeling Empress energy from the Strength card, there's like not just mental strength, but full mind, body, spirit strength with the Queen of Swords. This mastery of thought. It also reminds me, like, especially when we're thinking about time, schoolgirl, and then the Queen, I'm thinking about, like, the balance of wisdom, the wisdom that comes from aging. So, like, as you get older, there's more wisdom in there, but there's also ancestral wisdom that's, like, within us, and that we can also channel and reach out to and from within. And then there's also, like, recognizing how our inner child sometimes has answers and is smarter than we give credit to. And it's not just about innocence, but then age kind of becomes that, like, just a number. Because the more I have gone older, and especially in the last year, there was so much, like, I had this huge epiphany where I was like, oh my gosh, the keys to life, like the answers and, like, earth school and, like, life lessons, like, I was taught, like, 5 years old, like 2 to 6 years old, like, everything I learned, like 1, 2, 3s, ABCs, RESPCT, do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. All those golden rules, everything that I was taught when I was, like, really little, I feel like comes back around to be like, oh, like, adults make life way more complicated than it needs to be. And so I think it's fun to embody, like, the cheekiness of the schoolgirl, the cheekiness of a child, of youth, to have that kind of passion and balance it with, like, a slick tongue, with the vocabulary of an adult, with the wisdom of however many decades you have behind you. We have the Knight of Swords. So we have this person with a crossbow behind their back running towards their motorcycle. Interesting. There's action, there's inspired action here, and movement. And there's also, of course, precision and calculation. But with the knights in tarot are like the mentees. So how the page is like a student, and then there's like the mentee who has a mentor, and the knights are often like really innovative and kind of paving the way, kind of the ones that are like, wow, this is what the new generation is bringing to the table. Like, there's still a lot to learn, but they're coming into their own. So I love that. So we have schoolgirl, knight, and queen. And so we kind of have all of the, not all of the age groups, but we kind of have like little, middle, and then older. All right, our last clarifying card. Well, we have 4 of Wands. So we have like this fiery passion, zest for life. And here we have 2 figures dancing together. It's very Burning Man. And they have a tambourine. They're dancing with the wind, with fireflies. They've got a tent or a yurt behind them. And they're just enjoying life so carefree. And that also takes me back to like the schoolgirl, that cheekiness. Interesting to have this with body, but it also reminds me of like embodiment and characteristics and things we can embody, such as fiery passion, zest for life, strength, nurturing, respect for ourselves and others, love for ourselves and others, having a sense of humor, and dancing with life, dancing through life, whether literally or metaphorically. But life is very much a dance, right? And life is like your partner, but also the body is kind of the partner to the soul, right? And the body mind, as disability justice frames it, and or disability studies, I think rather, is kind of this like inseparable entities, right? Like, it's not possible to separate the body and mind, because what's happening in the body is affecting the mind, what's happening in the mind is affecting the body. Thinking psychosomatic things, thinking pain, physical pain creates like mental distress, and creates physical pain, and all of these things. And so if we are embodying this Queen of Swords, Knight of Swords energy, this tactful, sharp mind, and then embodying free-flowingness, the fluidity of time, space and time, dancing through life, with life, being a little cheeky, feeling like kids again, then we kind of can get this full, rounded out picture of that doesn't feel as discordant, but feels more multi-dimensional, and of course, like, we're as people so complex, and with that, you know, there's no topic or area in our life where we have to look at it as just like one little thing, like, okay, this thing, it has to do with my career, and it just has to do with thinking this way and doing these types of things. But what are ways in which you can take care of yourself and enjoy yourself and feel good and better mentally, and how can that open up new avenues in different aspects of your life? Something to think about. We have, for the spirit pile, we have a little, what kind of animal is this? Prairie dog? think it's a prairie dog. On its like hind legs, curiosity with a little arrow. Curiosity, spirit, curiosity. So again, this inner child quality of having that endless curiosity, being a student of life at all times, always being a student of life, always quote unquote learning lessons, but rather like gaining more knowledge by just having more experiences, right? By seeking, by endlessly seeking. And I feel like that Knight of Swords card in the body pile is very much like a seeker, right? A seeker of truth, a seeker of momentum, a seeker of answers. Like, in college, I had this, oh, what's the term? I can't remember the term for this. Starts with a P. All right, I keep running out of storage on my device, but we'll get through this together. The dancer for spirit. The dancer. Remember I was talking about dancing through life, dancing with life. We have the dancer. Thinking about Britney Spears as not just a pop star, but like dance is really important to her and her story. And for me, in my story, I kind of started out performing and dancing in the living room. And even though I do all kinds of art now, you know, like forever and always identify as a dancer. And even though I don't learn and do TikTok dances to be a dance teacher now, to still be performing experimental movement and whatnot, and just to see everyone having fun dancing and how dance can bring people together. And there's so many different styles of dance. Dance to me has stood out in the past year as a very spiritual experience, of something really beautiful where you can kind of have this meditative escape, this mindfulness with dancing, and this viscerality, this catharsis with dancing in so many ways. And it also reminds me of like going back to the beginning, going back to the roots of who we were as children, what our original passions were, what our dreams were when we were little, and thinking about, well, how can I still chase that? Do I still want that dream? Like, am I still passionate about the same thing? And even if, let's say, you wanted to be a firefighter when you were little, you don't necessarily have to be a firefighter now, but maybe there's something about helping others. And lastly, we have the sun card, which is 19. 9 and 1, adding to 10, which is 1 again. So 10 or 1 and 9 can be significant. We also have 1. We also have Leo energy again here, fire energy again here, and the sun, which Leo, so the card is the sun, but Leo also rules the sun. And we also have a slightly younger figure here, surrounded by sunflowers. So again, thinking about inner child wisdom, childlike curiosity, and that sparking the spirit. And also the idea of children being very in touch with spirit and spirituality, even more so than adults can. Children can kind of tap into the quantum and the spiritual in very pure, authentic ways. And sometimes adults have blockages that can't really necessarily get there. So our last clarifying cards for our spirit pile. We had mind, we had body, and now spirit guiding us for this Libra season. We have Two of Wands. So thinking about new adventures, passions, ambition, looking forward to new things, embarking on new adventures, new opportunities. We have a person with holding a wand and then has a wand behind them. There's a picture of a camper with a surfboard beside a globe of the world. So that is giving me, traveling, kind of not just going on adventures, but kind of back to that risk taking of, possibly like backpacking across the world, letting go of like material things in order to be more mobile in that way. We have Six of Pentacles. What goes around comes around, in terms of karma and resources, and there's plenty for everyone to share. And this is also like things coming back to us, things we've invested in and wanted, finally having that sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, like I could have more, but this feels like enough. This feels like we're getting there with more stability. We're getting there with that sense of security and that feeling of safety. And so it's interesting to get this in the pile of, so Pentacles again is Earth, but there's also that groundedness, that grounding that we get from Earth, from Pentacles. So the Earth signs, Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, and, think about our creature comforts, what brings us joy. Not all material things are evil, so cuddle up with, your plushies and your matcha or whatever your favorite goodies of the earthly plane are. And we have King of Wands that we're ending with, which is kind of funny. We have this figure with kind of a gecko chameleon on their shirt holding a staff that has a crown of fire as opposed to wearing the crown, which I love because heavy is the crown, right? And we also have a lion in the back. Remember how we got the strength card, which typically in tarot is depicted by a lion, which Leo is a lion is typically the symbol and imagery for Leo as well. So across all the cards and all the piles, mind, body, spirit, we're getting this reminder of internal wisdom, internal guidance, and it's not like super deep, super hard, impossible to reach. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3, ABC, remembering what brought us joy and inspiration as a child. So across the cards, mind, body, spirit, we're having this reminder to have childlike curiosity, to tune in to internal guidance and wisdom that doesn't have to be deep or super profound or have anything to do with how old we are, how mature we are in the eyes of others, but having that childlike wonder and curiosity, remembering what our dreams are, what drives us, what our original passions were, and fine-tuning ourselves to be in a more authentic alignment by tapping into the joy of dancing with life, dancing through life, and like what it means to just let loose and have fun like a child, to answer a question with another question, which is something in college that I used to do a lot. And to be an infinite student of life. Not that everything that's thrown at us are lessons or tests, but they're opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow, opportunities to exercise our faith, our values, our beliefs, opportunities to help others, opportunities to extend loving kindness and compassion to others, and being able to receive the goodness from all of that, giving goodness to others, and the reward is simply being able to give. And that's the biggest kind of receiving energy that I feel like isn't spoken about enough. Like, a lot of people like to say, oh, you know, you're in more receptive, divine feminine energy, or you need to be in this energy in order to receive more. You need to be high vibration to receive da-da-da. It's like, good karma is not about that. And it's really important that we don't do things or help others or do good in order to like receive some kind of prize or reward, whether that's heaven, nirvana, enlightenment, the rapture, getting beamed up. Like, you don't do it for the cookie. You do it just for the sake of doing it, and then you feel good, like witnessing someone else's gratitude, and then feel gratitude for their gratitude. And that is high vibrational. That is tapping in and tuning in to that godlike, saint-like frequency. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. I kept running out of storage on my phone, but I cleared so much of it in between all of the different takes. So hopefully this edit, hodgepodge editing, isn't too bad. And in the future, maybe I'll try something else with recording, or figure out what I can do in order to avoid interruptions in the future. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and peace and light and love, sending all that warmth and goodness your way. Have a good one.